Hey folks, in this episode of the Light Artist Podcast, I'm sitting down with Michael Aboya. He's a Ghana-based photographer, and he's also part of the upcoming Alpha collection. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Light Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Today, I have the honor of sitting down with Ghana-based photographer Michael Aboya. We're going to be talking about his art and more specifically, some of the pieces that he has in the upcoming Alpha collection, inside the Light Artist Alpha collection. So we're going to be talking about that and getting an idea of what it's like to be creating this kind of outstanding work that is known worldwide and recognized by giants like Adobe from Ghana. Hey, Michael, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Thank you, Johnson. It's going really well. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. Thank you for coming on. I'm excited to have this conversation for a number of reasons. Like I was telling you before we started recording, my girl and I were watching videos last night about Ghana, as it turns out, and I knew you were coming on the show, but they had no relation to that. But we were just kind of looking at life in Ghana and some of the experiences that people that have moved from the United States to Ghana are having, and it's a lot of positivity out there. So let's before we dive into that, because that's going to be part of this interview, before we dive into that, give us a little bit of insight into who you are and your origin story. How did you get into the world of photography? What led you down this path?
So my journey in photography started when I was 19. It was quite an emotional one. It started when I lost my dad to cancer. And this was more of like my wake-up call, made me realize that one day I would also die, just like everyone else. And would I want to die knowing that I did something, I pursued my dreams, I did something that I loved, or spend the rest of my life doing something basically what society wanted me to do. So I made the choice to chase my dreams, and that's photography. And I used the little savings I had to stop school. I was studying computer science, got myself a camera, and I started my journey in photography. The journey started with a question, and that question was basically, who am I? And I needed to find answers to that question, especially losing my dad, where I felt that it was in a time when I wasn't so ready, and I had so many unanswered questions, and I saw photography as a way to find those answers. So I got myself a camera, and I started my journey in the world of photography in 2016 professionally.
That is great. Congratulations on that. And I'm sorry to hear about your loss. I too had a very similar loss, and it's interesting. I came to very similar conclusions. I lost my dad last year to a stroke, and of course this was in the middle of COVID, right? So it was all that stuff that was going on. But just like you, I had the epiphany moment of, what am I doing? Clearly life is short. Why am I going to spend it doing stuff that I don't necessarily want to be doing and get all the way to the end of the line and regret, right? I should have done, like in your case, you don't want to be at the end of the line saying, I wish I had really tried photography to see how far I could take that. And it looks like you're doing that. So congratulations. Yeah, it's really cool. So then, the style of photography of where you are now, right? Sure, you've been shooting for a number of years, but the style of photography that you've developed seems very distinctive. Can you talk about that a little? Your journey into finding your personal voice or vision in photography and sharing that with other people?
Back to the story. After getting the camera, I had like so many questions, and I guess one of them was basically, where do I start from? What do I photograph? And basically, I started from shooting nature, like flowers, plants, just to get a hang of how the camera works. I knew nothing about manual shooting or whatever those buttons on the camera does, but I was like really happy that I was able to freeze a moment. But then I realized that I wasn't so connected to what I used to shoot, like the nature. I felt I needed something that had had a voice that could speak to me. And just as I said, I needed answers to questions. So the best way I found to do so was to meet other people and get to know them, shoot, photograph what makes them who they are. And gradually, I began to realize that the question I asked myself at first on getting to know who I am changed from just finding myself, but also finding ourselves, in a sense of what makes us who we are as one people. And those elements I found was love, hope, peace, kindness, and so on. So this drove me to kind of like look for those elements in the people I shoot. And over time, with practice learning, I developed a style that basically people haven't really experienced, especially in my country, Ghana. And it was actually really difficult in the start because I couldn't really find a place to fit myself. And in terms of like actually getting like financial, like getting jobs, I was somehow left out because people really didn't know what to contact me for. Is he shooting weddings or is he an event photographer? I didn't really fit in any way there. But gradually over time, I found a voice in my style through photography, and I was happy about that, and I had so much love for that. And I guess the love for that aspect kind of like overshadowed that feeling of being left out, and I kept working towards that path until I found a way that was sustainable. And I'm still working on that path.
Yeah. We're all still kind of on a path. I'm curious. A lot of people that I speak to, a lot of photographers will say that the camera is a passport, or it's a key to different worlds and cultures and areas that you wouldn't ordinarily have had access to if you were just a guy walking around. You put a camera in your hand and now you have a reason to engage, whether it be to talk to people or be in a place or situation where if you didn't have a camera, it would be awkward. Are you finding that as well as you move around in different spaces, that your camera sort of unlocks doors where ordinarily those doors would be locked to you?
Yes. One of the questions I asked myself also during my beginning stage was what the meaning of photography what is the meaning of photography? And from my research, I found out that photography is basically two words joined together, photo and graphy, which basically means writing with light. So the question I asked myself is, what am I writing? When I start writing, what would I want to say, and what impact would I love to create? And seeing a camera as a tool to bring about a positive change, it felt more of like having a key to unlock certain aspects in ourselves that we never really thought was there, especially as we grow in a society that is filled with so much that distracts us from actually finding that true purpose and true self to reach that full potential of knowing why we are truly here and who we truly are. I feel, yes, photography, having a camera, has been a key for me to unlock certain aspects of my life and the life of those I photograph.
You know, Michael, when I speak to artists like yourself, there's a difference, right? There's a difference between, you know, at the risk of, you know, angering people, you know, there feels like there's a difference between a quote photographer and an artist. And I feel like you very much skew towards the artist side, an artist who has chosen photography as his paintbrush, right? So under that lens or through that lens, why photography? Why not some other, you know, like you mentioned, photography is writing with light, right? So why not writing, or why not painting or music or something else? What was it about photography that drove you to create the body of work that you're working on?
I really love that question. And reason why I am saying this is because before I held a camera, I knew deep down within myself that I wanted to express something. Like there was something really heavy in me that I wanted to bring out, but I didn't really know how to do that. And it first started with music. So before my dad passed away, he got me a guitar, which I was learning to play through watching YouTube. And it helped, and it still helps at this point. But I realized I was not really someone that preferred to sit in front of crowds and play and all that stuff. And I realized that was like my weakest point. I tried speaking, and also realized that speaking also involves like standing in front of crowds and all that stuff. And the moment I held a camera, I realized even before my dad passed away, anytime I hold a camera, I express myself way better without even having to say a word. And when my dad passed and I embraced that, I embraced photography, it's opened something in me that I really didn't realize that I had. Aside taking pictures, it also unlocked that sense of writing down my feelings and writing down how I feel before I create and after I've created. And that's why now anytime I have my work post my work on Instagram or any other platform, I have something that I write down about the photograph that I've taken, how I felt, to be able to inspire those who view my image the more and help them connect the more with me as the artist, and also they themselves as the viewers. And photography was basically the best way for me to express myself. I have a very I feel like one of my gifts is I have a very visual, like a very strong imaginative memory. I can close my eyes and see a whole lot of stuff. And I remember one day writing down on one of my diaries, saying that I don't know how to draw or paint, but I do know how to take pictures, and I'll make sure that whatever imaginations that comes true, I'll write them down and find a way to create them through photography. And it works for me, and I'm happy I was able to find this path, as we said before.
That's great. That is great. What would you say is your philosophy around post processing or capture? In other words, some and there obviously there's no one right answer, right? But some photographers will say, you know what, I'm shooting. Some even say I'm going to shoot JPEG because it's the most like film. I don't want to have the opportunity to edit the raw file later. Other photographers on the other side of the scale will say, you know what, I am capturing a part of what will be a final image later, right? I'm capturing Lego pieces that one day I'm going to assemble into something that's greater than the sum of its parts. Where do you fall on that? Or when you have an idea for a shot, do you shoot it, or do you go and execute that and that's it? Or are you capturing pieces of a moment and later you're going to bring it out in post-processing or in the editing process?
Okay. So for me, I see it basically, when I shoot, I see it basically as a starting up with a sketch, like just sketching the idea and putting it down together. And that's part of the process. And it's actually, should I say, also an important or the most important process is starting that foundation where the story and everything that you are trying to express is balanced on. Shooting is a foundation process for me, and post-production is finishing that process and making it a complete house of feelings where you can go in and feel safe and feel inspired and feel purpose to be who you are in a world that is constantly trying to make you someone else. So post-production is actually not a bad thing for me.
Yeah.
Depending on, it's not bad for me, because for me, I use it to complete the whole imaginative process, the way I saw it in my mind, the mood, the feeling. I simply cannot get that all done completely through just a shot. I see the shot as the foundation, and the post-production is finishing that foundation to make it a complete house where you can call a home and where you can feel safe and inspired.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's a great quote. And it reminds me of someone drew the analogy of, I forget who it was, probably someone famous that I'm disrespecting right now. But someone said that the raw file is like sheet music, and it's up to the photographer to perform that sheet music in post-processing. And any number of photographers are going to perform it differently, but you're performing that raw file, basically, right? Yep. So I'm going to put you on the spot here, Michael, and in a good way, and congratulate you. How does it feel to have an image on the Lightroom Classic splash screen? So you are one of the that's like a handful of people in the world that Adobe has tapped to have that honor. How did that happen? How did that go down? That when people launch Lightroom, they may see your image show up, the millions of people that launch Lightroom. How did that come about?
To be honest with you, I never really saw that coming. I basically just focused on doing what felt basically following my passion, purpose, and being who I am. And obviously I was like really happy to know that it inspires people and everyone is happy to connect and see themselves one way or another through the images I shoot. But one moment, I just got an email and basically just saying we love this work and would like to have it as the splash screen. I was really confused at first. I thought it wasn't real, but it turned out to be. And I was overwhelmed. I was really happy. And basically, I guess part of my reasons for photographing is to try to bring some kind of balance to Ghana, Africa, or any other country in Africa where, for one or two strange reasons, we are always known for the bad side. And just like any other place in the world, there's always that good and there's always that bad. is more of like light and darkness. And for some reason, we are always known for the dark side. And I try to bring a balance, not to totally take away the dark side, but bring that balance where I say, look, there's the bad side, but yes, there's also the good side. And that's in the love, in the culture, the beautiful people, the traditions, and all that stuff. So having one of my works on the Adobe Lightroom classic splash screen was a great way and a great platform to kind of like push that narrative to, so that other creators and any other person who opens Lightroom to see someone from my home in such beautiful light feels more inspired, and it changes that narrative and all that. So yeah, I was really happy. Creators in my country were really happy and inspired, and it got people to also kind of like believe in what I'm doing, and also believe in my journey, not just being a photographer, but also being someone that is on a journey to bring about a change to our community and to our home.
I think that's hugely important, and you're absolutely right. Right. So the for whatever reasons, right, which might be a whole separate podcast interview, perceptions about countries within Africa are always or typically negative, right? It's it's this, it's that, it's dangerous, it's war, and all these negative stereotypes. And if you take a closer look, not even a closer look, if you just look, right, it's as metropolitan as any other place. Certain cities in Africa are amazing, and restaurants and nightlife, and it's amazing. It's like one of the best kept secrets on the planet. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's like that shield, right? Like that Wakanda shield, right? And no one can see it.
That's why I say you should come see yourself.
Yes, I do. I am absolutely coming. I'm absolutely coming. What's it like to shoot there? Here in the U.S. as a photographer, and the photographers are listening to this podcast will sympathize with this or relate to this. But here, if you're a street photographer, especially, there's a lot of challenges, and there's a lot of rules, and there's a lot of stigma. And why are you taking pictures over there? And make sure there are no kids in the shot, and don't shoot any government facilities, and don't use a tripod over here, or else you may be subject to licensing fees. There's a lot of stuff that photographers here have to deal with. Is it like that in Ghana, or is it freer?
I think it's actually like that, and a little bit worse, because there's this stigma where people are actually kind of like scared for you to point a camera to them, because one, they don't know what you're going to use the picture for. Just as I said the other time, just right now, what I realize is that sometimes people think you're actually going to use the picture to say something about poverty or say something bad about them and all that. So people basically don't want you taking photographs of them. But then if you kind of like form a community, become part of the people, get to know them, and they get to know you, they are more open and free to you taking pictures of them and telling their stories. So I guess it's basically the same around the world. It's the same thing. Yeah. You can't go shooting government officials. You can get your camera seized. And you can shoot in certain places and all that stuff. Yeah.
Have you had any adventures like that? Close calls?
Yeah, I've had several times. Sometimes I'm actually not shooting. I just have my camera on me, and then some government official walks up to me and be like, I hope you didn't take a picture of me. Can I go through your camera and stuff like that? I'm like, sure, I didn't take a picture. You can go ahead and look. they look and then they let me go. But if they see a picture, then I probably think you'll be in trouble.
Wow. Yeah. See, that's the difference here. I don't think that can happen here, right? No one can come up to you and say, "Hey, let me look at your camera," without some sort of authorization. Wow, fascinating. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit about the pieces that you have in this Light Alpha collection that's coming up, this NFT drop. As we record this, we're on the eve of the drop. It's supposed to go down tomorrow. First of all, how do you feel about being included in that Light Artist drop?
Really happy. Really happy to be amongst some of the best creators around the world. I saw all the amazing works out there, and I was like, "Wow, this is great. This is something." Aside me being part of the NFT drop, I was also really inspired by the quality of stories and the energy these creators have put into creating their stories, and also making the effort to inspire other people without even knowing that they are. So yeah, I'm really happy, and I can't wait for the launch tomorrow and see how it goes.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm excited as well. Well, tell us a little bit about the pieces that you have in this drop.
Yeah, sure. I have three pieces. Some of my best and more deep connecting work to me myself as the creator, and to every other person who comes into contact with them. The first one I titled "The Beginning of a New Life." It's just basically me trying to tell a story where, if you cut a tree and its roots are still deep rooted in the ground, it will still grow. There's still life there, and it will still grow. And if you put that in an aspect of a human being, there's always life somewhere, regardless of whatever you've been through, regardless of wherever you've been. There's always life somewhere, and you just need to find it. You just need to be in that space and find who you are, and be who you are, and love who you are, and make constant efforts to be a better version of that person. And the second piece I titled Ascended Sun. And basically, that was me just trying to tell a story about rising from whatever holds you down and prevents you from being who you are, rising from that and becoming the full, the potential, like reaching your full potential and shining that light that you've gathered along the way with others, so that they can also rise from wherever they find themselves into being who they are. And the final piece I titled Born to Fly. And I actually I really enjoyed the process in creating that image, because it was really fun and everybody was happy. And even myself, I wish I was able to do some of the things that the people I photograph were doing. And I was creating a story that basically also says that we were all born with a gift, and if we find that gift and we learn to master the gifts that we have, it gives us wings to fly. And obviously, if we had wings to fly, we all feel good and happy. And these are the three pieces that I have in the light collections.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and maybe the camera is wings, right? So the wings don't have to be physical.
Yeah.
So what is next? What are you working on next? And the other piece of that question is, Are you interested in experimenting in other other art forms? Not within photography, like cinemagraphs, or adding motion to photos, or video, or AR and VR and all that stuff? Or are you more focused on telling the story in a single beautiful frame?
Yeah, I am more focused on telling the story because aside sharing these stories and um, aside sharing the stories and creating, I also have a tax upon myself to find who I am as well. And I feel that every image that I capture has some kind of answer in there. And I feel that at the end of my days, I don't want to put it that way, but at the end of my days, I can put all those pictures together like a puzzle piece and have one unified answer that would bring me some form of satisfaction that I had completed my purpose. So I am focused on creating that beautiful frame and story, but also I am open to um, finding new ways to create those stories. And I've done so through adding motions to my images to make them feel more alive, to come alive. But I also make sure I don't make that like a distracting factor. So I don't do it to all my images. I do it just to some of them. And I look forward to maybe seeing how I can put some of my stories into videos and creating short films. But most importantly, I'm focused to capturing images and sharing those stories because I feel that where my words fail, um, my images will speak louder for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, like you mentioned earlier, showing the true side, or the beautiful side of Ghana, is that in and of itself is an important mission, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do there. So that's good. Thank you for doing that. What's next? What's next for Michael? What's the next project that you have that's going to be occupying your time?
Currently, I'm basically just doing working on the same project of self discovery, traveling to new places that I haven't been. Actually, today I actually came back from a close to 4 hours drive. And then I got back home and just had to set up, make sure the microphone and everything is working.
Hmm.
I was there shooting and had to also look at the time and make sure that I'm here on time to have this call. But basically, I um the thing that's always next for me is self discovery, and I feel that you never really finish until you finish. When you feel that you found what you're looking for, you just somehow know it without having to have someone tell you. And I haven't gotten to that point yet. So I'm still learning, still traveling around my country and other parts of Africa to capture and tell more stories and find more answers.
I love it. And where should people go to follow you and check out some of the stuff that you're doing, have done, and will do?
Um, my Instagram, aboya.8, ABOYA.8 on Instagram. And then I have my website in my bio on Instagram, so you can check that. You can see more informations about me into details and also um, other interesting stuff.
Fantastic. Michael, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you. Congratulations on all the things that you're working on. I love your vision and your insight, and the motivations that you have for creating this body of work that you're this journey that you're on. I think it's amazing and it's important at the same time. And the Adobe Lightroom Classic splash screen, you got it there. Congratulations. Congratulations on that. And you're in the Light Alpha collection, the first one. So yeah, you're crushing it. 2022 is going well for you, huh?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Michael, you have a good rest of your day. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview, and we'll speak soon.
Sure. Thank you.